Hello boys and girls, today I'm going to show you how to paint with markers. And I'm also going to show you a cool watercolor resist technique using crayon. So that's adding detail using a white crayon or any color crayon before you add watercolors. So to do this, what I did is I took my crayon and I just drew on my paper. I pressed with a hard pressure. This way the crayon came off on my paper nice and smooth. Okay, this is going to create a resist technique when I paint. What's going to happen is when I use my watercolor paints over my crayons, the crayon is going to resist that watercolor paint. It's going to push it away and it won't let the paper that is underneath the crayon soak up the paint. So I used white, this way you could see it clearly after I paint using the watercolor technique. So once again, I'm going to be painting with markers. In order to paint with markers, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need your markers, you're going to need paper, you're going to need a cup with some clean water. If you have a paintbrush, you will need a paintbrush. If you do not have a paintbrush, what you could always use is a few cotton balls. This might work also, and I'll show you that at the end. Okay, you're gonna need a few because if you change your colors, you're going to need one for each color. Your hands might get a little dirty if you use the cotton ball technique. If you have gloves at home, you could always wear gloves while you use the cotton ball. You're also going to need a paper towel, a plastic baggie, okay, it can be a sandwich baggie. If you have like a shopping bag that's plastic, so any type of plastic baggie. Clear helps you see the color of the marker a little bit better. Okay, so we are ready. I'm going to take each color and I'm going to color a little swatch of color, so a little area of color on my plastic baggie. So let me move this over a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, so there's my red. Orange. Yellow, green, blue, purple. Try to make sure when you're coloring these swatches on your plastic baggie that they don't touch unless you want to be mixing colors. Okay, gonna move that over. Next, it's time to start painting. So you have your paintbrush and your water container with clean water, paper towel. All you're going to do is simply take your paintbrush, kind of brush off some extra water, and you're going to take that paintbrush and you're going to swirl it in the color that you want to use. So I'm going to make a rainbow. So I'm going to swirl it in red. As you can see, it's like filling up my paintbrush with that red pigment. Now, before I started painting, I took a white crayon and I drew a rainbow with different lines on my paper. So let's see what happens. So as you can see, I turned the ink of my marker into watercolor paint. All right, next color, I'm gonna make sure that I wash my paintbrush off in the water. And then I'm going to brush it off on the side. I can even tap once on my paper towel so I don't have too much water. Next, I'm gonna go with orange. Now yellow. If you have too much water on your paintbrush, just tap it on your paper towel. See, I have a little bit too much water right here, so I'm gonna tap it, pick up some of that color. Okay, now green. Tap it beforehand. If you think you have too much, just tap it once more. It's bleeding into the yellow a little bit, but no big deal. It's actually gonna look kind of cool when I'm done. Green. So to get rid of that, I'm just going to wash my paintbrush off, dry it off as much as I can. And then I can go back over and try to lift up some of that color or just blend it in. No big deal. It's a rainbow. When you see rainbows in the sky, they're not usually always perfect. You know, some spots are a little more dull, where the colors are blending into one another. Let's do blue. Once again, just making sure that I don't have too much paint. When you're painting with your paintbrush, always make sure that you're using the tip of your paintbrush. Okay, you never want to use the side of your paintbrush. Never use this metal part. If you press really hard with your paintbrush like this and you rub back and forth, you're going to create a hole in your paper and you're also going to ruin the bristles of your paintbrush. So you always want to make sure that you're painting with the tip of your paintbrush. Okay, one more, let's do purple. Wanted a little bit less water. The less water you have on your paintbrush, the more vibrant the color is going to be. So if I put a little bit more water on this purple, what's going to happen is my color is not going to be as purple. It's going to be muted a little bit. So it's going to be definitely a lighter purple. Okay, so one more thing. I did say that I wanted to show you how to do it with the cotton ball. So just real quick, I need to color a little bit more on my palette, you can call it, my plastic baggie. So I'm going to just take my red, color a little bit more in that area. All right. Then I'm going to take my cotton ball. I'm just going to dip it in the water. Now I don't want too much water. My hands might get dirty. I'm not wearing gloves, but oh, there's a little bristle here. That's okay. So I have some water on here. I'm going to swirl it in my red. So it's going to kind of make like a stamp, and then watch this. I'm going to just brush it right across. And I wrote the word hello before we started, and there you go. So that works too. Okay, notice how I didn't put too much water. So now my fingers are still clean, and I would use a different cotton ball for each one. Now it turned black over here because when I wiped it on my paper, it mixed with the blue and the purple and the green a little bit, but no big deal. You probably have these at home. So if you don't have a paintbrush, these cotton balls are definitely gonna work great. The good part about this plastic baggie is that I could just take my cotton ball to clean it and just wipe. I can also bring it over to the sink and rinse it off. And I could easily reuse this, okay? So don't throw this plastic baggie out. You can reuse that. So this is how you paint using markers if you don't have watercolor paints at home. This will not work with permanent markers, just so everyone knows. You have to use a washable marker like Crayola, Mr. Sketch. I got these from IKEA. These are called like Mala. I think that's the brand name. But these are also watercolor markers, washable markers. These work also. So you cannot use a Sharpie marker. It will not work for this. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to paint with markers today. Don't forget to have fun, be creative, and don't worry if you make a mistake. See you next time.